The advanced skill for this time is going to be using an equation and a point to find either a parallel line or the perpendicular line. And I'll talk about what that word means in a moment if you don't remember. But first we're going to deal with parallel because it's a little bit easier. For this you need to know that a parallel line has the same slope as each other. Two parallel lines have the same slope. And that kind of makes sense if you think about parallel means that they're never going to touch. So they're exactly the same slope because their rise and run are the same, so they'll never run into each other. Okay, so when we're dealing with this problem, first of all, you need to identify what the slope is that's the same. So you're going to go ahead and use this equation that's given to you because the equation we're trying to find is parallel to that one. And then identify what the slope is of that equation, which is right there. So the slope we're going to use is -2. All right? So if we're going to put the bare bones of our equation right here, it's just going to be y equals -2x plus b. We don't know what b is yet. And this is where the point comes in. We're going to take our point and we're going to plug in our x and our y in for x and y. So our y is 5. And our x, our x is -2. Oops, that's a b, sorry, not a 6. And now we're going to solve for b. Okay, so we've got 5 equals -2 times -2 is -4 plus b, add 4, and we get b equals 9. And then the final step here is to write this back into our equation. So y equals -2x plus 9. And that's it, you're done. So this is a good strategy. You could also use point slope form and then change it to this one if you'd like. That would also work. But if you want it to go directly into slope intercept form, this is a good method. All right, let's focus on our perpendicular lines. And perpendicular means at a right angle. So lines that look like this would be perpendicular. And in this case, you probably won't understand this yet, perpendicular lines have the opposite reciprocal slopes. Okay, so that would mean that if one slope is -1/2, then the other slope has a positive slope and you're going to flip. So the sign changes, that's what opposite means. The sign changes to positive, and then the one on the bottom goes to the top, and the one on the top goes to the bottom, and then you simplify. So having one has a slope of -1/2, and the perpendicular line has a slope of 2. On the same token, let's say you had a slope of 3 as another example. This is the same thing as 3/1. So if we were to flip that, you'd get 1/3, and then opposite would be -1/3. And the reason we have to change the sign is because if you think about it, if one line up here, look at this graph up here, if one line has a positive slope and the other one's perpendicular to it, it has to have a negative slope. So that's the reason we changed the sign. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. So let's deal with this specific question. What is the equation for a line that is perpendicular to y equals 3/4 x plus 1 and goes through the point 8, -10? All right, well, 3/4 is our original slope, and we want that to go to our perpendicular. This is a sign for perpendicular, by the way, kind of like an upside down T. And so we want to flip, bring the bottom to the top to the bottom, and then change the sign, and that's our perpendicular slope. Okay, so now we've got bare bones y equals -4/3 x plus b, and kind of as a side note, you could also use the point slope form if you wanted, so you do y minus -10 plus 10 equals -4/3 x minus 8. That's okay too. I'm just kind of doing that as a side note, but I want to show you this method again. All right, so now we want to put in this point, and in this case we've got, all right, -10 is our y, and then an 8 as our x, and we're solving for b. This one's going to be a little tough because our 8 doesn't go exactly into 3, so this isn't going to simplify nice. So we're going to have -10 equals, if we're going to multiply these, multiply across, this is 8 times 4, which is 32 thirds. Okay, and then if we wanted to change this one into thirds, because we're going to have to combine, all right, that would just be -30 thirds. And then to solve for b, we add our 32 thirds to both sides, and then we get b equals, all right, -30 thirds plus 32 thirds. Well, that's a difference of 2 thirds, so b is 2 thirds. And our final answer, I'll write in red up here, y equals -4 thirds x plus 2 thirds. And that's a pretty messy one. I'll try in the future to make it not be so messy. But you do need to know how to find the perpendicular slope of two lines. So if you're given one slope, find the perpendicular and then make it into an equation. I don't mind if you do it this way either, since we've done it like that before. They're actually the same thing if you simplify and make it in the same form. So I don't mind either way. Good luck, and ask me any questions that you have.